I've got twins on today. So I don't know where, Mark, do you know the orientation of the screens? Because I don't know who's on. Like, I know what I see, but I want to make sure it's what they see.
Please tell me you were just about to say you don't know who's on first.
Yeah.
Please.
Have you guys seen The Boss? Have you guys seen the
made
movie
Mike
The Boss?
big. The movie what?
Who's on my baseball? No, I think it's who's on. No, it's who's on my baseball. Anyway, if you've never seen The Boss, that makes no sense. So what's the orientation here? Who's where?
We've made Mike larger because he's the featured guest. He is on the left-hand side of the screen. And you are on the bottom right, Matt, and I'm on the top right.
So I'm not like sandwiched between you two, right? I'm not like in a bald sandwich here. Like the hair
no.
Beautiful bald sandwich is what you
That's kind of disgusting, actually, what I just said. The hair in your sandwich. That's
yeah.
All right. Well, guys, welcome. Got an amazing guest for you guys today. As amazing as our last guest was, Dave Gambrell. Well, Mike is I think there's nowhere to go with that. That's not like an insult to one of the two of them. No. Mike has got something awesome for you guys to share today. So just a little tease here, what we have coming up. Mike and I talked last week, I think it was, had just an amazing conversation that ran out of time way too soon. And during the call, I was like, dude, can you come on and share what you just said to me with on a Facebook Live? And he graciously agreed. And we also talked about something that I had even unbeknownst to me had been struggling with for years. That's really handicapped our business, really held us back pretty dramatically. And we're going to share those, but first we're going to kind of dive into Mike, who he is, and all that fun stuff. But I just want you to know he's got one thing in particular that's just absolutely amazing. He'll probably have other amazing stuff too. Just this one thing is what I asked him to come on and share. And then I want to share kind of that struggle because I know it's relevant for all of you because odds are if you're like, if you're based on the emails we get and the Facebook comments we get, many of you are struggling with this too. So just want to say hi real quick. I know I see Phil. I see Phil's picture. I see Annette. Hey, Annette. Sarah. And I can't really see names. I'm just going by pictures. And then, okay, I do see names here. Jennifer, Mark, I don't know if I'm missing anybody, but I did see people whose faces I recognized on my screen there. Wanted to say hey to you guys.
Yeah. Sarah, Annette, Phil. Those
awesome.
Are the ones I'm seeing.
So let us know where you guys are joining us from. We always love to see that because it's just crazy. Doing these things. I've been doing live video for years, and it still blows my mind. Like, there's always like one random like Romanian that's on. I'm like, how are you even up? A random Romanian. That is a band name. Just call it. No, but there's always somebody. Like Romania or like we had one person on. Mark, I don't know if you remember that. It was like 4:00 in the morning where they were on our Passion to Profit path training recently, and I'm just like, that's dedication. That is dedication.
Yeah.
And I know something about that person. They're going to be successful. Real quick, speaking of Passion to Profit Path, you can register for one of our upcoming trainings at passiontoprofitpath.com. That is what we call in the business a great segue, also very unplanned. So always let you guys behind the scenes. So Mike, man, you're down the road from me. You're like 2 hours from me right now. And yet we're doing this virtually through the power of the interwebs. Again, it just blows me away. As soon as you and I are off this Facebook Live, I'm jumping on the phone with another person who's near you down in Noblesville, Indiana. Mm-hmm. So it's like Hoosier Tuesday here.
You got to move to Indianapolis, man.
That's all there is to it. Did I ever tell you that story?
I think you did. Yeah,
we had an offer in on a home. They just wouldn't let us have it. And I'm like, give me the house. No. So we moved here.
It's kind of extreme to go to Fort Wayne from Indianapolis. Like, I'm out of here. I'm just going to go to Fort Wayne.
Screw you, Indianapolis.
Screw you, Indianapolis. I'm going 2 hours away.
We meant to move to Indianapolis, but we missed by 120 miles.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So tell me real quick, or tell the audience, obviously, I know who you are, because that'd be weird if you were just here on a Facebook Live with me and I didn't have a clue who you were.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about you, kind of how you got into this world and who you serve and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, I am an advocate for foster and adoptive parents, and through that, have created a blog, podcast, written several books, have created several online products courses, membership site, coaching program, all that goes to serve, to impact, to encourage and equip foster and adoptive parents. I myself am a former foster parent, current parent. I always say that weird, current parent, like I'm not going to be a current parent in a year or so. That's not even the case. I'm just a parent. I don't know why I say it like that, but I am a parent to
currently a parent.
I'm currently a parent.
All of my children.
Exactly. Check in with me next week. It may be different. No, just kidding. I always say that, and people are like, "You're a current parent? Like it's going to change now?" So I am a parent of 8 children. True story. All through adoption. They range from my youngest is 10, my oldest is 32, and I'm 43. So anybody who doesn't know that I'm an adoptive parent, there you can see them doing the math. Like, wait a second.
Yeah. Wait, so you adopted this person when you were 9?
Exactly. Like someone's like, something scandalous happened in the elementary school in Southern Ohio. So
all I got from that is I can start calling you Dad.
Yeah. Oh, please tell. How old are you?
34.
No, you cannot. You have to be younger than 32. No,
yeah, but that's close. That's close enough.
That would be really weird considering our haircuts. So very, very strange. Anyways.
Me.
Yes, exactly.
But he's adopted.
$1 million. Anyways, yeah. So to make a long story really, really short, I actually worked in the church as a family life pastor from the late 90s all the way until 2014, when I was abruptly fired from my job that I had known my entire adult life. And it was interesting. And I wasn't fired for anything wrong, nothing like immoral or unethical or anything like that. It was a church that was in a downturn in finances, and a lot of people got fired. And I found myself actually sitting on the side of a mountain, literally sitting on the side of a mountain that fall, asking myself, what am I going to do with my life? Like, what do I want to do? And I just felt like, man, I don't want to go back to what I had done my entire adult life. I want to do something risky. It was very risky. I want to do something that's kind of anybody would look at me and say, this is crazy. And that was, I wanted to take this little hobby blog that I had started and turn it into a full-time career. And that was about as crazy as me saying, I think I'm going to try out for the Cincinnati Reds, or I'm going to try out for the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, it's just like anybody would look at me and say, that's insane. And yet that's what I decided to do. And at the time I was reading a book by Jeff Walker called Launch, which was very interesting because like I was in no place to launch any kind of product at all. I had just gotten fired, but for some reason that was the book that I picked up, and it really inspired me and moved me. And I came home and I looked at my wife and I said, I feel like I'm being called to write and speak to and encourage and equip foster and adoptive parents around the globe. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to do that? And I said, well, I think I want to try to be a public speaker. I want to try to be a professional writer. Again, crazy stuff to be. It's one of those like, your wife's looking at you like, okay, like, are you high? Did you hit your head? Like, what exactly happened here that's causing this? And I just, and she really, I say that, but she really shared that passion too. And she said, okay, let's do it. And so that's what I decided to do in October 2014. I decided that I was going to be a public speaker. I was going to launch this blog full time, make a living off of it. And at that time, nobody was calling me to speak. I had about maybe monthly 2,000 or 3,000 people that would follow our blog, which, to some people that's like, wow. But in a professional sense, those are not big. Those aren't big numbers.
Especially in that niche, it's not the most lucrative niche,
exactly.
And so you do need more numbers.
Right.
So what were your numbers again? You said like 1,000 to 2,000?
Oh, it was like, I think on our high months, now this was a full month. This wasn't like a day or a week. They were probably floating around. I think 3,000 would have been a really good month. Right. Okay. And so it was hobby blog. And we were doing everything. I was doing everything at that time to make it a professional blog. But really, at that time, only a small group of people, like my mom and her Tupperware buddies were showing up to read my my post. That was it. Yeah. And so it was risky, but I remember when I launched that blog, I was sitting with a friend talking it through, and he looked at me and he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, all I know is that if I do this, I need you to hold me accountable to show up every single week and post every single week. And to date, as I sit here in 2019, I haven't missed that mark because I knew that was like do or die.
Okay.
Consistency
let's stop
is a
there.
game changer. Yeah.
Let's park the car there for a second. Say what you just said again, Mike. You committed to doing what?
I committed to showing up every single week.
Once a week.
Without fail.
I'm going to go out and post every day. Woo!
Yeah.
And that's I just want to stop there because, guys, this is what happens to so many people. You make a commitment that is unrealistic, and I'm all for if you want to release 10 pieces of content a day, go right ahead. I'm all for it. But you want to do something that you can consistently show up for every single week. And you're not going to back off when times get hard. You know, when your kid gets the flu or you got the flu, you're not going to, you can still squeeze out a blog post. You know, I've been through some pretty bad stuff over the past 7 years of my journey. And I can do something. You know, it might be a 5-minute video from a hospital room. There's a setting for you. You got an IV in your own. I mean, but in all seriousness, guys, just park there for a second. He said once a week, and you sometimes produce more, but even in the hard times, you did once a week, like it was clockwork, like it was, a job.
Yeah.
Right. So
absolutely.
We parked there. You're doing this once a week thing. Love that. And again, guys, real quick, just a couple quick notes, guys. We're gonna get to this thing that Mike shared with me that just was so awesome. But I just want to say hi real quick to Mark Williams, Eddie Smith from Houston, Tim Kirk watching from Princeton Junction. I'm actually curious if Princeton Junction is near Princeton. Also, real quick, before we get into this just awesome sauce that Mike's going to share in a little bit, he already shared one just gold nugget there. Share this with your friends, guys, because they don't want to miss this part that's coming up. So now's the time. Go share this with your friends. Anybody who needs to hear this message of how to get your platform started in the path that Mike took, because Mike is not an internet marketer. You know, I mean, he markets on the internet, but he's working with adoptive parents. Share this, let them know. Also, super quick, you mentioned Jeff Walker, Mike. I want to give a shout out to him. Guys, Jeff has his masterclass starting tomorrow. If you want a heads up on when that starts, Mark's going to drop a link for how to get a Facebook Messenger notification. I don't know that link. I do know that if you go to mattmcwilliams.com/PLF Masterclass, and Mark can drop that link as well, you can get on this training that Jeff is dropping here soon. I wish, once again, perfect segue, Mike. I wish you and I were smart enough to have planned this. You probably were.
Mm-hmm.
Matt jumped out. Hold on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think
there he is. There he is.
Mark was like, I'm done with you.
Anything.
I'm tired of your hair. I'm tired of your beautiful hair, Matthew.
I was, as you were saying that, I was thinking, I hate when Matt asks me to make links up as he's telling people I'm going to be dropping them. So I will get that link for the Facebook notification as soon as I can, but it's not created.
Yeah. So, take us through that part. You're creating that content. You got a little small audience. You're not full time. I don't know what you heard. Sorry.
I did.
Take us back there.
So I had made that commitment. Interesting point though, that you talk about like not overproducing. Originally I looked at that friend of mine and I said, I'm going to post every single day. And he's like, whoa. He's like, you're not going to be able to do that. Yeah. And so I ended up saying, okay, my commitment is once a week. And so we're producing content. And we realized pretty quickly that, and you guys know this, people don't you don't get paid if you have a viral blog post. You know, you don't get paid if you have a viral Facebook post. I mean, we in our company, we have Facebook post. I'm always telling this to our company or to our team members that, you know, likes don't equal money, right?
I have a shirt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen that shirt. Likes don't pay the bills, sales do.
Yeah. In fact, I love that shirt. I need to find a copy of that shirt.
Okay.
Or find that shirt somewhere because I love that shirt.
Google, let's see. I'm going to look it up while we're talking. But Google, if anybody wants that shirt, it's not my shirt. I wish I had created that shirt. But it's a quote from Noah Kagan. Startup vitamins. Just Google startup vitamin, and you'll find it. I'm going to see if I can find that shirt because that is like, I get so many comments on that shirt.
Yeah.
Real quick, Mike, I want to point out Tim Kirk, who's on from near Princeton. He's a foster parent.
Oh, cool.
So
awesome.
Really cool. All right.
Very cool. Yeah. So, you know, and I saw you wear that shirt a long time ago, but we've constantly always said that to ourselves. Like, this is just because you have a blog post that may have like, you know, 4,000 likes or shares or something like that does not mean that you're making it big. I mean, you have to scale the business in other ways. And so the one out of a handful of trades that I took with me from the church world was public speaking. And it was something that I loved to do. And so I decided that the first step that I was going to take in making a living from this was to go and speak. And it was actually something I really wanted to do because I really wanted, our heart is to encourage and equip foster and adoptive parents. We know how hard this is. But we also know how much they love their kids and how much they want to be the best parent possible.
Yep.
So public speaking was the avenue. And so, but again, as I said a little while ago, nobody was calling me to speak. You know, it wasn't like, oh, Mike got fired from the church, I bet he wants to come and speak at my event. Not the case. So that would be awesome, but not realistic.
Yeah.
So I did the best thing that I knew how to do. And that was, I just started sending out emails to people. I started sending out emails to organizations, foster and adoptive agencies, even churches, conferences. For a while, I was speaking for a youth conference. And I literally booked. So by January of that year, January 2015, right after 4 months after I got fired, I suddenly found myself with a half full speaking schedule in the year 2015. A year later, I was completely booked in 2016. 90% of those bookings in the first year, really the first year and a half, came from me simply asking, hey, can I come and speak at your event? And I even offered to do it for free. Yeah.
Let's hit the brakes there. Because you got another thing. You actually said it before I could rudely interrupt you. So we hear about this kind of rapid progress that people make, guys. Oh, I went from, being fired, remind me again, when were you fired?
I was fired in September 2014.
Okay, September 2014. So end of year, half full speaking schedule. Next year at some point, a year later, full speaking schedule. And we're like, oh, well, Mike must have been, that's easy because Mike must have been like a celebrity before he got on the speaking circuit. No, let's put an X by that one. Okay, Mike, knew all these people. Yeah, you had a few connections. That certainly helps. But Mike, Mike was maybe like an agent before. No, not that. And let's think, what's another one? Mike just got lucky. Mike met one person who just introduced him to everybody and got all these people. No, not true either. Mike, tell us what you did to go from in 1 year, no speaking whatsoever, no platform, to full speaking schedule.
The first thing was I sent emails. I asked people, which is a big risk, and people underestimate the power of the ask. Is what I often refer to it as. The power of the ask is just that. It's powerful, but we sometimes give into our fears, and we're afraid that. It's interesting. I was actually thinking about this earlier today. We're afraid that somebody's going to say that we're afraid that someone's going to insult our mother, or they're going to tell us we suck, or you're no good, or how dare you. in all of those emails I sent, I had several rejections, and I've also been, even though I'm signed with 3 different publishers, I was also rejected a lot. And in all of those rejections, nobody ever insulted my intelligence, told me I sucked, told me I had no business reaching out to them. And what I learned is that what I had decided is that if somebody would have said that to me, they're not worth my time anyways.
Yeah.
So I don't want to work for you anyways, So there's power in the ask. You have to get past the fear of really the unknown, or really the fear of the unrealistic. Nobody's going to call you names or insult your intelligence, and if they do, they're not worth your time. But then the second thing I did is that I offered to come for free, no strings attached. I will come. One of my good friends who is a comedian and MC for major Christian tours, in those early days, looked at me and he said, go and work for these people for free and kill it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely kill it. And that's what we did. We showed up and we went above and beyond. No fee, no kickback. People did give us some kickback. I mean, we were getting like Home Depot cards and Starbucks gift cards and things like that, and occasionally a free flight here and there, but that was rare. Yeah. So I sent emails, I asked, then I showed up, I killed it, and I did that consistently, and that started to pick up momentum. And the more requests I received, I was able to formulate an official contract and fee, but that came later on. I just had to get over that fear. And I had that in the beginning, like that fear. It was a risk. Like, I'm going to ask this major conference if I can come and speak for them. Who am I? They don't know who I am at all. But oftentimes people are looking for people who have a specific knowledge or a specific expertise in something, and they don't know where to look for those people. And they don't have the budget. They don't have the budget for the big guns. Like, I have people in my niche that are way, I would say a bigger gun than me. And those people are already tapped out, or they have the same message that they're delivering over and over and over again, and they've already been on that circuit. So oftentimes conferences and agencies and, organizations are looking for people to come and speak for them. You just have to ask them.
Yeah. Guys, there's so much there that we could unpack. And I'll highlight some of them. Some of the stuff that you said to me, Mike. And actually, there was one thing that really stood out to me when we spoke last time. I remember thinking this, and I wanted to tell you this, but I just, we were moving so fast, I forgot to tell you. So I'll tell you now. Mike, what you did is what I see in so many successful entrepreneurs. And, Mark, you've been, through our business, you've been able to hang out with the same people that I have, and we're around all these amazing entrepreneurs. I was just listening to a podcast with Kevin Harrington today, Mark, and you would appreciate this because there's not a story he told on that podcast that I hadn't already heard from him in person with him. And I was like, and I just felt so dadgum special when that was going on. I was like, I spent 45 minutes just listening to the same stories I'd already heard. I didn't learn a thing from him. I already knew what he was saying. But I've noticed this in him. I noticed this in every successful entrepreneur. You were willing to do the things that most people aren't. Mm-hmm. And not just going past the fear. I'm talking about going to speak for free. Kevin tells this story about the first driveway he ever sealed. He was like 20 years old running a multi-million-dollar driveway sealing company. The first driveway he ever sealed, he did it for free just to take the pictures.
Yep.
And that's how he got more clients. And most people they're just not willing to do that. They come out of the gates, and you're an expert at parenting adopted children because of 30 years of experience. Well, not 30 years of experience, but a lot of years of experience. You've been doing this since you were 11, of course, right?
It.
Yeah. And so they think that they're just everything's supposed to be handed to them, or they think that there's some sort of a fast track to success, and there's not.
No.
And you did what most people just aren't willing to do. So 2 things that you did. One, you went for free. Actually, you spent money to go.
Oh, yeah.
People think, I spoke for free. No, you didn't. You spoke at a loss. You lost money on those first just to get the reps in. We do the Passion to Profit path, which I talked about earlier. I'll do that if only 5 people show up. Why? I want the reps. I want to be delivering that information. The second thing is you got over a fear. And I have found time and time again with successful entrepreneurs, your greatest successes, your greatest joys in life, your biggest wins are always like right on the other side of fear. And that's not some cheesy metaphor that goes on a poster with a bunch of penguins or, a wolf with a moon in the back, right? No, that's like just dead serious truth. You're great. My greatest joys in life, Mike, I think we talked about this. I love Cedar Point. I love going on roller coasters and scaring the crap out of myself. Why? Because my greatest joys are literally on the other side of what terrifies me.
Yeah.
And so guys, he got over that fear. That's one. And he did the things that others weren't willing to do. And so you did this. You started sending these emails. We kind of skipped earlier to the result, full booking schedule. But what did that process look like? You're sending these emails. You're speaking for free. Take us along that journey over the next year.
Wow, man, you're taking me back into the vaults to try to remember everything that we did. One of the things that we realized pretty quickly was that we needed to have a place for people who were interested in bringing us to their event, a solid place to land. And so one of the things we did was we created a speaking page on our blog, because that was where most of our traffic was going. And on the speaking page, we actually at that time modeled it after something that we saw Michael Hyatt post back when he was still traveling and doing public speaking. And that page made it very clear, like, here's how you book us, here's how you reserve time on our schedule and whatnot, and how you get a hold of us. And I will say this, this is getting into the mechanics of working with clients. But even in those early days when I had no idea, clients up until 2014 were church patrons. That's who my clients were. But I learned back in the day that when a client needs something, you respond, because there's nothing that'll kill business quicker than silence.
Yeah.
When they're not hearing from you, especially when they've paid you money, that could throw you into a crisis really quick. So even in those early days, I would be up until all hours of the night responding to emails and interacting with these people. The other thing is, and I think this is key when you're starting out. Don't be a diva. Don't be a diva. It's easy to get too big for your britches, especially if you have a few successes. And we had a really, really successful, completely event at a loss, as you just said, or free, doing it for free. But it was really successful. Like, we went out to this conference in Seattle, and we were, for the first time ever, we were sitting across the room from people who knew who we were. They were familiar with our blog, and they showed up to our workshop because they heard that Kristen and myself were teaching.
Nice.
Well, it's very easy. That's feel good stuff. Totally. You walk away and you're like, man, that's awesome. Like, you're feeling too good. It's easy to start to become like too big for your britches and take on a diva attitude. Here's what I believe, and this is what we're constantly saying across our team, that there's no place for divas in the early days, and there's no place for divas even in the current successful days, because people need it's I think I even said this to you on our call, Matt, that it's like that Coldplay line, "Give me real, don't give me fake."
Yeah.
People are craving authenticity. And in the marketing world, we talk a lot about that we are experts. And Kristen and I, several years ago, had to come to this realization that people were they were reaching out to us. They were seeking our input and our expertise because we were sought out as experts. And that's really how you need to position yourself. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't give you permission to become this like untouchable superstar when you have people that need that authenticity. And so when it came to public speaking and when it came to these clients, we viewed them as just that. They are clients. We are working for them. We are providing them a service. And when they need something, they get top priority. They are VIPs. And I think that's really important if you are becoming a public speaker, if you're launching a coaching group, if you're launching a membership site, online course. All of our courses, membership sites, coaching programs, those are all VIP. People pay to be a part of those. We're just getting ready to launch our parent coaching program this coming Monday. And it's already something that we're drilling into everybody on the team, that these people are top priority. Yes, they're paying clients, but also they are showing up to receive a service from us. So we've got to give them the utmost, highest quality attention.
So this is it's this mindset that you're giving folks today, that this is what makes me know that not only are you already successful, Mike, but I think you're getting close. And I know you won't take this as like a diva thing. I know you're getting close to your hockey stick moment. I don't know if you know what that is, but you look at growth and it goes like that.
Yeah,
it's like a hockey stick, because you've had the taste of success, but you haven't let it change who you are. And you're totally right. Like, I see that. I talked earlier about the things that I see in successful entrepreneurs. When you look at entrepreneurs who got, they hit six figures and then just kind of like stayed in six figures forever, or even went down, it was because six figures got to their heads.
Yeah.
And they changed. Yes, you evolve. We evolve as businesses, but we don't change as businesses. We don't change who we are.
Yeah.
And then when I look at people, I have friends, they changed who they are. I've actually, Mark, you'll attest this, the bigger we've grown, the more personal I've gotten with our audience.
Mm-hmm.
We do things now one-on-one and one to few that we didn't do 5 years ago and 3 years ago. I've actually tried to get more, as the bigger we get, the smaller I think. And then it's like the opposite of what people would think. The bigger we get, the more, every time our email list is going up or whatever, subscribers going up, I try to focus on one person more and more. And I see that in you. And I just think that's what tells me that hockey stick moment is coming soon. Real quick, guys, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Any questions for Mike about how we did it? Again, I'll share kind of my struggle here in a little bit, and what like how much of a difference getting past that has made to me. I don't want to keep teasing that for too long, or do I? But I want you guys to check out Mark's going to drop the link to Mike's Facebook page in the chat, so you guys can grab that. It's a little long, so I'm not even going to attempt to say it. But I want you guys to check out Mike. And here's what I would call on you guys too, because Mike, like I said, Mike's not an internet marketer. He's here as a friend of mine, just like 100% value that you guys are giving, or that you're giving today, Mike. If you're an adoptive parent, like I think it was Tim earlier that said that if you're an adoptive parent or a foster parent like Tim, Mike can help you out. Go check out his stuff, follow him, interact with him, get to know him. If you're thinking about being an adoptive parent, as we are, we're kind of in that process of trying to figure out how do we add space to our house, for example, to do that. Then check Mike out. If you've thought about it, if you know people who are thinking about it, introduce them to Mike, because they're helping so many people with this stuff. Like they're in the space. They've got personal experience. They've got a system that works. So check them out, follow them, and interact with them, and tell them that tell them I sent you. Because then Mike sends me nothing, absolutely nothing, which is the way it should be. So awesome. So Mike, gosh, I know we have a couple of questions, but I just want to say thank you, because it's so simple. That's the thing, guys. Like, the reason I asked Mike to be on real quick is I say stuff. It's like parents, it's like people who are closest to us, right? And most of you don't know Mike. He can come on and say the same thing I've been saying, but the way that he says in the story he tells, and it clicks for you.
Yeah.
Mark, I haven't told you this, but the other night, it's like 2-3 nights ago, I said to Tara, yeah, Mark, said this or something, right? And it was an idea that I don't even remember what it was right now. I'd have to go look at my notes, but it was an idea that you had. And I was like, we should do that, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I've been saying that for 3 months. And I was like, and there is no response to that, but it's not, yeah, but it was,
No, yeah, there's not.
it was just, I know. And I should have listened to you. Just the way that Mark said it got it to click with me, and so the way that Mike said this stuff, I know it was clicking for me. So, Mark, do we have any questions for Mike?
Yeah, we do. Tammy asked a question.
Awesome.
One of our start members, Tammy said, I'm gonna pop it up on the screen here so everybody can see it. What exactly did you talk about when you originally spoke for free, and what did you give to people?
Good question. The majority of what I spoke on was parenting. Our blog actually started off as a general parenting blog back in the early days. So it was parenting in general, but we also did primarily foster and adoptive parenting strategies. So we talked a lot about, our approach is very realistic, very honest. I mean, our podcast is called the Honestly Adoption Podcast because our goal is to always speak honestly, to give a full perspective of adoption, good, bad, and ugly. And so we spent really the duration of the last 5 years talking about parenting strategies when you're parenting children who have a trauma history. And that's what our training content is centered around as well. I did a little bit of some youth conference speaking at a conference that I used to speak for, or I used to take students to when I was a family life pastor. That was very short-lived because I realized the second summer in a row that I was speaking for them, I stepped out on the stage and I looked at all of these teenagers in front of me and I was like, these are not my people. You could just sense that, like, these are not my people. So those early days, I would primarily foster adoptive parents, and really what we would give them was strategies to help them become better parents. Talked a lot about understanding trauma, so you knew how to respond to your child, because children with a trauma history, it manifests itself through behaviors. So talked a lot about that. Yeah.
One thing that Tammy, I don't know if Tammy was asking this, but I'll ask it as kind of a offshoot of hers is, so you're giving the speech for free. Was there anything that you offered when you first started? We'll call it a lead magnet, a speaking lead magnet.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you offered to give them that got them into your ecosystem online?
Yeah, actually, we, in those early days, we would take I had these little postcards that I would set on a table in the back of the room. And it was just a link that said, hey, thanks for showing up. And it was our website, confessionsofanadoptiveparent.com/free book. In fact, I think you can still go to that link and it's there. But it was access to a free download, a free ebook called The Weary Parent's Guide to Escaping Exhaustion. It's actually something we still garner a lot. Yeah, we still, that thing, we've actually had this conversation for the last 2 or 3 years. Like, should we replace it? And it continues to still generate thousands of email leads every single month. So we're like, well, it's really performing well, so we're going to keep it up there. And it's like the little engine that could, it's still chugging along. So yeah, so that's what we did. We just created, you can go to vistaprint.com and create these little 4x6 postcards and little index cards. You can get like 500 of them for like $25 or something like that. And when you're starting out and you're broke, like I was in 2014, It's like, go to vistaprint.com and order some postcards and take them with you. And, like I said, if you go in and you decide, I'm going in and I'm going to kill it, I'm going to do it like I'm being paid $20,000 to do this talk. People want to know more. People will want to know more. They will want to hear more from you. And so take those postcards with a little web address with a free download. It works.
It does. And it's funny, Mark, you beat me to it. I was dropping links. Oh, I love it. That's why I should never drop links. But Mark, because I wasn't thinking, you were ahead of me there. I know I saw one other question come in. Mark, I'll let you ask that. And then then if Mike, if you're cool to stay on, I'll kind of share my story real quick. What you and I talked about on the phone and kind of the revelation I've had over the past few weeks, and then we'll wrap up here.
Cool.
Perfect.
So Tammy had another question. She said, Mike, this is a question for fun. She said, did you see the movie Instant Family, and what were your thoughts?
I
did.
Yes,
I did.
I don't know. What do you think? Because like this is your thing, right?
Yeah.
I loved it as a non-adopted parent. I mean, it's hysterical and
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So it is the most accurate Hollywood depiction of foster care that I've ever seen.
Oh wow!
And I actually got to. So another thing that I get to do is I used to write for DisneyBabble.com. And so part of that was I would see a lot of pre-screenings of Disney films, but then also because it was I think it was a Paramount picture, I also got to see that movie before it released. And I watched it through my laptop. I was actually at an event speaking, and I was sitting in my hotel room, and I was crying. I was crying from laughing, and then I was crying from crying. Yeah. So amazing film. Absolutely spot on. We actually were this close to interviewing Sean Anders, the director, on our podcast, but then it didn't work out. But yeah, I love that film. Great film.
That is awesome. So, Mike, you mentioned a book earlier that's had a big impact on your business. What other books or maybe like what's your favorite book that has helped you in terms of business? And it doesn't have to be a business book. Like I've always said, one of mine isn't really a business book. But it's helped me a ton. And my favorite parenting book is actually not a parenting book. It's Robert Cialdini's book Influence. Is literally my favorite parenting book. Yeah. But what's your favorite book in terms of maybe it's made the most impact on your business?
So there's two books. The first one is Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. Amazing book. I read that book on the flight home from being at that ranch on that mountainside, trying to figure out what in the world I was going to do. I bought that book in an airport bookstore. I read it on the flight home. It is that amazing. Malcolm Gladwell is one of my favorite authors anyways, but Outliers is, it perfectly describes who I was. Like, how he talks, if you've read that book, how he talks in that book about, that there are, and I'm trying to, it's been several years since I've read it, but what really hit me was when he talks about how, there are people that travel a certain path, like everybody else is traveling this path, but then you have this path over here. And those are the people that log the 10,000 hours. Those are the people that they're not just like like the pro athlete that comes from the rough neighborhood. It wasn't just like by chance. There's a certain reason that happened at a certain time. And when I read that, I'm like, that's me. And it just pushed me over the edge to step out, take the risk, and do this. The second book that I thought was really amazing, but I think it's probably becoming outdated now, is Ryan Deiss's Invisible Selling Machine. Yeah. He's actually updated that process, the whole idea of the email machine, of the onboard sequence, of the customer experience when somebody subscribes to your site, to your email list. Still a great book. And then the last one, I'm going to throw one more in there, is another Malcolm Gladwell, and that is David and Goliath. Amazing.
Mark, I know you read that
Amazing.
book. Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. That is like, there's a sequence in there or a section in there that is like the best. It's weird. It's like the best coaching book of all time. Yeah. The stuff about the way the coaching in there. And then that's another great parenting book, ironically. Yep. If you take the principles and apply them to parenting, it's kind of weird. I buy all these books to learn how to like do marketing, and then I learn how to do parenting. It's kind of weird, The thing
I love about David and Goliath is that it speaks to entrepreneurs, because we're underdogs often. We start off as underdogs. It's like we're stepping out and doing this wildly risky thing. And I love how he makes the point that underdogs, the whole like David and Goliath Cinderella story, when you see that theme being thrown around, at around NCAA tournament time,
Yeah.
like David versus Goliath, and then David magically wins, that team magically wins. You can look back and you can see like there were actually, they may have been a scrappy little team, but they had these advantages that you can't see with the naked eye. And I think that applies to us. Like we're scrappy, we're unconventional, but we have these advantages. We have this pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and not rest on our laurels and plow right ahead. And I think that's why that book meant so much to me,
And like there's so many business equivalents, but the point that he makes, and I love this, that he makes is, Goliath was a giant, right? Well, is being a giant actually an advantage in a one-on-one battle? Is having I read somewhere that his sword weighed 2.5 pounds, which was 6 times the average weight. Is that an advantage? Yeah, if you make contact with him.
Yeah.
But he had a sling, not a slingshot, by the way. He had a sling. And there was, the argument was if the story is, accurate historically, we don't know there, from technical proof and all that. But, if he was a giant, and there have been documentations of people that are giants, we've seen them. Andre's one of them, and for those of you who didn't grow up watching wrestling or The Princess Bride, that just went way over your head, and you're a terrible person.
You really missed out too. So,
but, like, odds are, what's the thing? Like it's, I don't know. There's the it's like a disease, where the pituitary gland,
degenerative eye disease.
Yeah, and so he would have had degenerative eye disease, and odds are, because he said this, he's like, "Come closer so I can see you." It's in the text.
Yeah.
Odds are he couldn't see David.
Yeah.
But we start looking at this, and it's like, wait a minute, David had the advantage. Like we got it backwards. He had speed. He had youth. He wasn't slow, he wasn't like he could see well. He had the better weapon for the fight. And it's like all of a sudden, and we look at that from an entrepreneur standpoint, and we go, wait a minute, we got speed. When's the last time in your business, Dave, or Dave? I was thinking,
whoever you are.
I'm about to call you David.
I'll respond, whatever you call me. It's cool.
When's the last time in your business, Mike, that you had to go through a committee?
Oh, absolutely not. Never going to happen.
Not an advantage?
It's never going to happen.
That's an advantage. You don't have to go through a committee. Speed. You got speed.
Yeah.
You think about having the better weapons and things like that. And all the experience that you've got as an entrepreneur and all these things. And like, you're not so far removed from the ground game, though, that you can't see.
Yeah.
A lot of corporations are blind to what's going on. That's why Kodak becomes the story of Kodak. That's why MySpace, goes the way of MySpace.
Yeah.
Because you're blind to it. Entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, you actually have the advantage.
It's funny that you say that, because I was in New York City last week recording our latest book on audio, which was a super cool experience in itself. But my son went with us, and he wanted to go to Times Square, which I've been to New York City so much that I avoid Times Square. It's just it's a tourist trap. It's cool to see like once or twice.
Oh yeah.
And as we were sitting there, my son was filming like one of those street dance groups, and I'm like looking around. I'm standing back from the crowd because I don't want anything to do with it. And I remember looking around Times Square, and I'm looking at all of these bright ads. Like there's Kodak, there's all these different brand names all over the place, American Eagle. And as I was looking at these huge displays, the thought crossed my mind, man, you guys are missing the point. Like you are misunderstanding how advertising really works. Like nobody's paying attention to any of these billboards right now, but you've paid millions upon millions of dollars. They're the Goliath, right? And we look at that like we don't have that advantage, but that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a benefit to us as entrepreneurs.
So, man, I'm glad you mentioned that book, because that's a good one. So real quick, guys, one of the things that Mark, I don't know when I shared this with the team. I want to say about a month ago. I think you know what I'm talking about, because we haven't really talked about this. Love that hoodie, by the way. What is that?
What's
Mark's hoodie? I love it.
It's mine? Oh, it's from the soccer camp.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah.
It says always training on the back, which is really cool.
I like that.
Nice.
I love that
So
phrase.
we talked about it about a month ago or so, maybe 5 weeks ago. In one of my mastermind groups, I was in there, and the guy who was leading the discussion basically said, "What is the thing that you are? What's like? Write down something that terrifies you in your business." And I wrote it down. So I'll tell you what it is in a moment. Wrote it down, and then he said, "Okay, now what are you going to do about it? Like, what's an action you can take?" And I had been in this process of, we got really intentional as a company about reaching out to prospective partners about doing webinars with their audience. And this is what I teach, guys. You know, Mike, you and I talked about one of the things in your world is, yes, you teach how to deal with trauma. You teach adoptive parenting essentially, but you still deal with the same things. And it can feel mentally like a disconnect sometimes, like we're being inauthentic. Wait a minute, my child said something hurtful this morning. I'm a terrible parent. I can't go on stage, you know?
Yeah.
And I talked about how in your world, like if I have a bad morning with my kids, I don't come on something like this feeling like I can't talk to you about marketing. You know, there's a disconnect, thankfully, for me. With you, they're like intertwined. And so I was just really having this struggle, because the thing I wrote down was I was struggling, guys, to reach out to some of my Dream 100, to some of the people that I know and have maybe a certain level of relationship with, but I was afraid, like Mike was talking about, I was afraid that they were going to think I was a terrible person. I wasn't afraid of them saying no. I was afraid that somehow by reaching out to them and saying, hey, can we do something together, that I was going to damage the relationship. And yet I teach throughout my blog, throughout my YouTube channel, throughout Facebook about how to ask people to be affiliate partners. But there was a certain group of people that I was scared to ask. And they were the top people, of course. And then it hit me, wait a minute. Not only am I being inauthentic, but what a stupid way to live life. Like, what a terrible way to live life. And so I've gotten through that fear. And I will just report that we have some awesome partners that are coming up, and some others that will come up. And so I guess the encouragement for you guys is this: the same thing that I'm teaching, I'm struggling with sometimes. You know, people in the weight loss industry have temptation. People in the weight loss industry sometimes cheat. I like, newsflash, right? Yeah, I mean, I just to encourage you that, first of all, we all struggle with those things. And secondly, the answer, I wish it were more complicated, because I can make a product and sell it, but it's not. So I'm not going to make a product and sell it. The answer for me was to just bust through the fear. It was to take action. I didn't take action without the fear. Oh, I'm fearless. Nobody's fearless. I just took action in spite of it, just like Mike did. And so, Mike, I think when you and I talked, like that feeling, I know you knew this, like that feeling was still so raw with me. That when I heard you say what you said, I mean, I'm so glad that we talked when we talked, because it just jumped out to me like, this guy's got to come on and share this. So, man, I'm so glad you were on today. This was awesome.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Guys, seriously, check out Mike's stuff. Mark, if you can drop that link one more time. I mean, he's just I want you to do a couple things. I want you to follow him and engage with him. And again, if you know an adoptive parent, if you are an adoptive parent or a foster parent like Tim, then follow him and learn from him. Also, hey, if you're a marketer, I'm just gonna say this: Mike's really good. And Mike is really good at taking his passion and his expertise and turning it into a profitable business. This is what we teach in the Passion of the Profit Path. Again, you can register for that at passiontoprofitpath.com. But follow Mike. Mike, you said something earlier real quick about your speaking page. And I meant to say something about this. You did something very simple. You took Michael Hyatt's and you copied it.
Yep.
You made your own, you put your own flair on it.
Yeah.
But you copied it. Why? Because success leaves clues. You took a proven formula and you replicated it. And I would just say the same is true, guys. Follow Mike, follow what he's doing, and you'll catch something. And if you follow him enough, there's going to be something that registers with you. So follow Mike, engage with him, reach out to him, and and you're gonna learn a ton from an awesome dude. So, Mike, any last words? I'll put you on the spot. Do you want to end this thing with some like major wisdom, or just want to, we can just peter out? We'll just
No, I just everybody watching and listening. I will tell you this, and you've heard Matt and Mark say this a lot, but I'll say it again, that you can do this. If you are sitting there and thinking, I'm never going to have a book deal, I'm never going to have a blog that anybody reads, I'm never going to have a podcast, you can do it. Don't give in to fear. Fear wants to stake a claim in your life and wants to control you, but you are an overcomer and you can do it. I sat 6 years ago, thinking I'll never have an audience, and now I have a global audience. It takes a lot of work. It takes years of commitment. It takes consistency, but you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Consistency over time equals big results.
I love how we came back to that consistency. That's where we began.
Yep.
Because that's where we'll end. Mike, Mark, thank you guys. And thank you everyone for being on. See you guys.
My pleasure.